to get one thing printed off, so just hold on it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the council meeting, January 24th, 2023. Before we get started, I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inkakatma and the Syilx people. I'm getting better at that. I had a request that when we're speaking into the microphones tonight, if we could speak a little louder and a little closer, because people at home can't hear and people in here can't hear sometimes. So if we could. I know there's some soft-spoken people in here, if we could do that. Late items, seeing none. And then there's some people who don't need a microphone at all. Public input? None, thank you very much. Adoption of minutes. 4.1, regular council meeting minutes, January 10th, 2023. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 10th, 2023 be,
My apologies, Your Worship, but we did just want to flag a minor alteration in the minutes before you actually had a chance to vote on them. There is one very minor typographical fix that was made, but it was in one of the resolutions that you passed, that the council waived the rental fee for use in the Civic Centre West Auditorium for the Nicola Watershed Restoration Workshop to be held on, and when you voted on the resolution, this was erroneously given as February 23rd, March 1st and 2nd. It is 3 sequential days that should have been February 28th, March 1st and 2nd, so that has been corrected in the minutes, but we wanted to flag that before you voted on those minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawes. Appreciate that. Glad somebody read their minutes. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 10th, 2023 be adopted as read.
There's another correction to be made.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It was noted in the minutes that it's Miss Sherry Peters and it's Miss Sherry Peterson from Samaritan's Purse, so if that correction can be made.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have any?
If there's no.
Go ahead.
If there's no more, I'll move the adoption of the minutes with the 2 corrections.
You betcha. Can I have a seconder? Councilor Petrusk. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you for picking that up, everyone. Public hearing, general matters, nothing, unfinished business. Here we go. 2023 grant and aid applications detailed review to be introduced by Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, please. You're up.
Thank you. This is a carry forward from the last meeting, and so the detail you should have received, the 171 pages of attached details that go along with this report for the list of 14 applicants. And so if you would like, we can go through these one at a time.
Sure, I think it's probably the most prudent way to do it. We did have a number of people that spoke to their causes at the last meeting, so I don't think we need to, unless there's something really burning with someone, but I think we should go through them one at a time and hash them out, because I'm sure council has, now that we've had a chance to look at the agenda, that there's some questions and possibly some changes in the situation.
Okay.
Okay. So just for myself, and I'm not going to speak for council, but here's how I do grant and aids. Grant and aids are always a touchy thing because it comes out of our budget to a certain degree, and the amount that we have is usually about 0.25% of what an actual budget raise would be. So I take it pretty seriously, and even though, don't take it personally if I don't approve exactly what you were asking for. That happens sometimes, and I'm not sure how the rest of council is, but it's good to hash these things out and move on. And if any other council would like to say anything on that matter, just to state your position, I would appreciate that. Councillor Hogan?
I just want to add that it was difficult decision, at least for me, when I read the policy regarding the grant and aids. So not if I applied what it's stated in the policy. So for example, this is not to be an ongoing support. So not every applicant would qualify for this assistance. Also, what type of community impact at large is going to have this specific project. So when I review all these applications, so it was like, okay, what am I going to do? So again, so I don't take any personal. We are doing our best to provide the support based on the information provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So let us begin. Merritt District Hospice Society, FA12, volunteer training. Amount requested, $1,500.
Excuse me, Mayor?
Yes.
That's the extraordinary grants you're looking at, FA12?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me move down to the next one. I guess I should read. Let's start with the Merritt Bread Baskets Soup Bowl Society. This would be for their fridge freezer replacement upgrade, $2,900, and they did present at the last meeting and explained their what they were looking for. Council, anybody have any comment on that? Councillor Neufeld?
Oh, sorry. No, I just make a motion that we approve that request.
I see Councillor Ogan?
I was going to second.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Neufeld and Councillor Egan. All those in favor? Those opposed? No. Passed. Merritt Country Christmas, week of Christmas events, $4,500. Program budget is $19,000. An event that we always look forward to, something that has been around for a long time. Any comments? I need a mover on that if I could get it. Councillor Ogan moves it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Charney. Any other comments on that? All those in, Councillor Charney?
I think this is a really good program that we have. The community is really involved, and their request is only 20% of their budget. So I think that's a very reasonable request.
Thank you very much. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? None? Carried. Merritt Mountain Bike Association. Merritt Mountain significant trail maintenance. They have an application in for $3,000. Program budget is $3,000. This is one of the ones that I stumbled on, and I did some work today. I went to the actual site and had a look, took some pictures and whatnot. Now, the sight lines or the entry lines into the jumps, to me, is there anybody here from the Mountain Bike Association? I was hoping somebody would come tonight. Nope. So the transition into the jumps look fine, and everything seems to be looking pretty good. The one thing that is lacking is there's a set of jumps that the kids land into, shavings or sawdust shavings, and that is pretty much depleted. It's almost all gone. So I see a bit of an issue there. I went and talked to one of the directors today, which was Travis Fair, and he has told me that a couple of the jumps need some repair as well. So even though the city, maybe Sean, I could get you to explain, the city owns the land, but the ability to be looked after is by this club, correct?
What?
Excellent, thank you. So I myself, looking at it, I don't see the need for a heavy machinery to go in there. I don't see anything that couldn't be handled with a shovel and a rake. And I know that their request is for $3,000, but I would like to move $1,500. And this is where the part that Council can change my mind with debate if they think I'm off of whack. I'm more than willing to listen to them. Councillor Charney?
I went on the 25% as a guideline for most of them, and that would bring this one down to $750. I don't know what the other councillors feel, but.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Egan?
I just wondered how you arrived at 50%.
Basically, I'm looking at the fact that the jumps are going to, the cost of wood to replace the jumps, the dump truck to bring the shavings over, the rental of the dump truck, etc. I'm guessing that's going to be close to that. But again, this is just my, I haven't even made a motion, it's just a suggestion. Councillor Charney has made a suggestion. So that's how I see it at 50%. It still gives them the ability to do what they need to do, because if I look at it this way, if we drop it down to the 750 and we skimp on one of the jumps and somebody gets hurt, or there's not enough landing zone, at least at the 1,500 I feel comfortable they can cover both those issues. I think 3,000 is too much for me, so I won't be going for the 3,000. I'll go for whatever the flavor of council actually is. Councilor Petrosky?
Yeah, I agree with Mayor Getz, and not just the one jump, but there may be other places where they may need some fill, so 1,500 I agree with.
To be honest with you, I have no idea what kid goes in there anyway. It's crazy in there. I would never ride my bike in there. Anyway, that's just me. Councilman Phil?
My concern on this one is the fact that it is on city property. I understand that the group is overseeing the safety of that. However, we do have, I'm looking for a little bit of background on it as far as insurances and how that works, because once we have accepted the fact that there is a liability on one of our city parks, we are then therefore responsible, as the best of my knowledge.
CO?
If council would be willing, I will pull up the specific terms of the agreement that we have with them. And we have had discussions with MIABC and others about this park. We've had to change signage and other things in the past, but I'd like to have a bit more certainty as to the terms of that agreement before answering the question. And if that's important for council, perhaps you could defer this item to later while I go digging for that agreement, if that's okay.
Motion. Sorry, motion to defer to later on in the council minutes, if that's possible.
Well, could we just say we could red flag this for information?
You need a motion to just
Yeah.
go to the next one,
So-
remember to come back, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, so let's just red flag it for now. Thank you. I'm sorry, I've said your name wrong 3 times, Councilor Newman. Sorry, throw something at me when I do that. Where are we now? Nicola Nordic Ski Club, significant trail maintenance, 1,500. I read, everybody has read their package, and this is a group that constantly does good things. We have to remember that these trails are used by people that come to our community. They need to be groomed, they need to be looking good. I mean, everywhere has trails, and the better we go. So I'm more than happy to support the 15 to this group. Any councillors have any? So I'll make the motion on the 1,500. I'll make the motion, and Councillor Chart will second it. All those in favor? Opposed? Not opposed. Good. Nicola Valley Kennel Club, the Nicola Valley Kennel Club Dog Show, $5,000. Program budget is $36,000. Again, something that has gone on in this valley for a long time. COVID kind of put a stop to it. They do get a lot of people, and unfortunately with these judges does come a lot of cost for these people to come and judge these shows. I've had an animal that has gone through this all the way to its Grand National and Canadian National Champion, and it is a costly affair. And I know they do a really good job. I'm no longer involved showing dogs anymore, but I would like to hear some of council's input on this, whether the 5,000 is too much, enough, or whatever. Councilor Richard.
I think being that we get quite a turnout for this, it's a real benefit to the town, and it's something other than your typical mountain fest or music fest, and kind of keeping things diverse. And also, if they're planning on having it at the rodeo ground, it's kind of encouraging use of other facilities. So, and being that we want to promote other areas in town that are used, I think it's a worthwhile event. I mean, it's higher than some of the other things that we have, but I think promoting use of the rodeo grounds is a good idea. That's why I support it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments? Can I have a mover on that? Councillor Charney, seconded by Councillor Richard. All those in favor? Those opposed? None. Nicola Valley Evangelical Free Church, the NVEFC group, youth group, 1,500, second year for this grant. Here's where I've had a problem with this one. I'm a firm believer that government shouldn't be belonging in churches. And this group gets a permissive tax exemption as well. So it's kind of double dipping for me. This is something that, to a certain degree, that I think the parishioners should be covering, rather than, if we were doing this for every church group in town rather than just one, I could kind of see this, but I'm having a little bit of trouble on this one, and I don't want to sound like an ogre, but I'm just trying to see if anybody else has any other opinion on this other than me. Councillor Hogan?
So, I feel actually the opposite. So I feel like the opportunity is for everyone who wants to apply it. And I have experienced the activities that they are doing, through this church has been, benefiting not only the people from that church, but other churches. I feel like the request is reasonable. It's not like asking a huge amount of money, and I would be, in favor of supporting.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Councillor Etcher?
I had similar comments to Councillor Olguin. It's, even though it may not be a church I have any affiliation with, they don't only allow their own faith members to attend. So this group encourages youth of all denominations to show up, and that I do appreciate. And with all the terrible influences that you see out there these days, for the low investment of $1,500, I think it's worth it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Councillor Newman? Oops.
No, I was just going to rescind, I was basically agreeing with both the councillors. However, with the fact that they have already applied for the permissive tax exemption, that's the only thing that I do agree with, in the fact that it is essentially applying for grant funds from the same pot. But with that in mind, I was thinking of an $1,100 approval opposed to just the $1,500, if council was in favor.
Kind of like a fine. Councillor Hogan?
Well, I just feel like it's not the only organization who is applying for a granting aid and has received the permissive tax exemption. So I feel like if moving forward, maybe we'll have to make some adjustments to the policy, or to the granting aid policy, if we want to apply those observations.
Thank you. Councillor Egan?
I would just tend to agree with Councillor Olguin and Etchart.
Thank you very much. Councillor Newman, would you like to move your 11?
I didn't hear much support for it.
Would anyone like to move the 15? Councillor Hogan, second Councillor Charney. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And here's where I become the hypocrite right here. Nicola Valley Community Arts Council, Spirit Square Festival, or festivals? Oh, sorry, Merritt Snowmobile Club, sorry. The Honeymoon, it's a webcam for the Honeymoon Mountain and a sea can. I was trying to look up for days what a honeymoon webcam looked like, so apparently it's the area is called Honeymoon. Merritt Snowmobile Club, Honeymoon, webcam and sea can, $7,500. Program budget 238032. I'm not a snowmobiler, but I used to be one, and I know how important this can be sometimes when you can check from your computer what the avalanche conditions are. And with the amount of deaths that we've had in the last couple of months, I'm willing to support this at this point because I think it is important for the people that are heading up on these sleds and stuff to be completely protected and know what they're getting into. And I'll open that up to council. Councillor Newman?
I'll move the recommendation. It's sitting currently at a 21%, which I was in favor of 20% on that, but I will move it at that requested amount.
Councillor Egan?
I would tend to agree, basically because I've seen pictures on the internet where you can barely, it's at 33 feet up in very high areas, and you can barely see the roofs of the structures that are up there now. And with the weather changes, you just never know what's going to happen. So
are you seconding that motion?
I would second that.
Councillor Egan seconds. Any more comments on that from anyone? Since we're all avid snowmobilers? No, we're not. All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Okay, here we go. Nicola Valley Community Arts Council, Spirit Square Festivals, $2,500. Program budget is $5,000. Now, this is where I become a kind of a hypocrite a little bit, because this is a group that is on a light item in the budget, if I'm correct. Is that correct? They're on the light item? Yes, they are. The only reason that I want to support this is because I don't think that we use the Spirit Square near enough, and I would love to see it get used more. And I feel with a group that is willing to put something like this together and get that square used and get it noticed, I'm willing to support the 25 as it sits, because I think we need that. Councillor Petrosi?
I also support the 2,500. We definitely need more visitors downtown. Definitely. So I support the 2,500.
Thank you. Councillor Logan?
Yeah, I am in favor as well as supporting that application. So just keep in mind that this organization has received ongoing funding for the past 2 years, and this is going to be the third one. So if we receive another application from this organization next year, that's going to be a different situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Etchart?
I think they stretched the funds quite well for a lot cheaper than we could do within the city, and it's well worth the investment. So I definitely support it, regardless of what they got last year or other years. Nobody's going to run that many activities that they have all summer for the funds that they get. And being that they're so close to the Spirit Square, I think it's great that they're there and that they can stretch that money with all the programs. So definitely in support of. Thank you.
Do I have a mover? Councillor Etchart, seconder. Councillor Petrosi? All those in favor? Opposed? Nobody. Merritt Little Britches Rodeo, $1,000. Does anybody else want to comment on this? Because I seem to be doing the one that's only doing the talking. So how does somebody else feel about commenting on Little Britches?
I move the recommendation. Sorry, I forget about the microphone. I'll move the recommendation.
I'll second that. And I would just like to let everyone know that the Merritt Little Britches Rodeo has been around a long time, and they do a really good job. We've had a lot of pretty famous people come out of there, and probably more to come. And they've been, it's kind of neat. I don't know if you've ever been to a Little Britches Rodeo, but it's a lot of fun to watch. I would suggest if you have the opportunity to go watch, you'll have a really good time with it. So all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Nicola Valley Rodeo Association, Concours Accessibility Safety Upgrade, $7,500, program budget right there. We had Peter speak to this about the access for the washrooms for those that are handicapped, etc. I'm going to support it, but the one thing that I'm wondering is, I guess it would be the next time is to suggest that you go for the other grants that are out there before you do this one, because I'm pretty sure Rick Hansen Corporation and a couple of others would have thrown some money into this. So I'm willing to support as it sits. Councillor Hogan?
I just want to state that I feel like many of the applicants are going through the same situation. So it's early in the year and they are planning different fundraising events. And later, so right now we are dealing with the granting aid right now. So perhaps they will be, may not need our assistance, but right now, as up to date, they do. So that's why I'm in favor.
I do believe these notifications for grant aid come out in November, do they not? Yeah, so they do have quite a long warning before it happens. So. Just Councillor Charney?
I support the amount they're asking, $7,500. The community's really rallies behind this event, and they're also trying to broaden the events that are happening at the rodeo grounds, the dog show, for example. So and it's about 21% of their total budget, so I am supportive of the $7,500.
Are you making a motion?
I'll make a motion that we support the $7,500.
Thank you. Everybody else seconds? All those in favor?
Just an eager bunch.
FA11, Small Scale Meat Producers Association, the NVC Abattoir Community Consultation, $7,500. We had the lady talk to us last week on this, and I called her again this morning because the one thing that was missing was the budget sheet. I wanted to know what the expense breakdown was. This appears to be a bit of a party, and I'm more than willing to do the in-kind for the building, but we have to remember, was it at Christmas time, we had C.J. Martin and Mason from Mr. Mike's do the community dinner. And they didn't ask us for anything as far as food and everything else. All they wanted was the building in kind, and we gave it to them. So for this, I don't think I can support the $7,500, but if council has another dollar amount or any comments, I'd love to hear it. Councilor Egan?
Yeah, I don't agree on 75% of their budget being funded by the city. The other thing that I do think, though, is that it is supposed to be an event that will encourage more of their industry in town. And I think we need to support that in some way. I'm not sure as to, maybe if you want to stick to the 21% that we've been going along so far, I would support that. But no more.
Okay, so we'll keep that in mind. Councillor Charney?
I agree with your worship that it's a rich budget, and I would go for in-kind.
Okay. Councillor Oden, I see you reaching for your button there.
I just want to state that this is the only applicant that has not received funding in the past years. So I echo Councillor Egan's recommendation, and I would like to go for the 21%.
Councillor Newman, I see you. There we go. Councillor Newman?
Is there a motion and that was the second?
I think we're just chatting right now. I don't think an actual motion, because there is some people who said just in kind, some people, so I'm just waiting for somebody to make a motion apparently. Oh, Councillor Richard.
Depending on how much of the facility that they need, if we go 21%, that wouldn't cover the rental, probably with the kitchen and everything that they would need.
Are we talking 21% over the in-kind?
Well, if we go 21%, because what is the rental?
Dollar figures.
$1,875.
Well, that would be 1875, but
So
I think it's
so $1,900. Let's round it to $1,900.
But if you did a flat number like 2,500, it's easier for accounting, and that's probably closer to what it would cost for the rental with the kitchen and everything.
Is that your motion?
Yeah.
Have a motion from 75 down to 25?
Well, everybody was talking 21%.
Well,
So 19.
Let's make it an even number. I agree, let's make it an even number. Let's go 25. I mean, if somebody wants to change that. Somebody owes me $1. CEO?
I'm just looking to confirm that this is basically the in-kind rental plus the difference up to 25 is functionally what you're saying with that? Or are we just talking giving them $2,500 and no in-kind?
For myself, where I'm sitting, it's the in-kind and the 2,500. Now, whatever rest of council, I'm not sure. They would have to state.
So like total value would be closer to like 4,500 is what you're saying, if that's the case?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
As long as everybody's talking the same language, that's all that matters.
Councilor Charney's looking at me like she's going to kill me. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm not talking the same language. I'm talking in-kind only.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Councilor Newman?
And I would support either or. I was thinking like the 2,500 flat, and they could use it towards the building or whichever. That, because when we're back up to the 45, then we are sitting at an almost 50% contribution.
Okay.
So I don't agree with supporting that. And again, not that I don't see the future value in this request, but again, it's just a very heavy request for one evening, one get together, and unfortunately I can't support the 50%.
Thank you. Councilor Etchart?
Okay, so maybe some people are looking at it through that lens, but the other thing you have to consider is all the letter of support that you have from all of the local meat producers who are having a hard time finding places to butcher their meat. The other thing is, what if we should have another catastrophic event where highways are closed down? You have to really think about the food security. And if you're thinking, well, that's a lot of money for a party, that may be true, but how about food security? Like what local facilities do we have for meat preparation? That you have to think bigger picture, because if you Councillor Newman, think about the presentation that we had April the 25th of 2022 in Salmon Arm. They had a very good presentation about food security with that garden production and talking about all the figures and numbers. And anyway, I think it's worth supporting. And maybe we don't have to go 7,500, but somewhere in the middle it seems more appropriate to me. And
I feel like an auctioneer.
And so you should.
It's getting exciting. Who's next?
It's willing to fight over. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, no, I 100% agree with the project as I stated. It's I believe it was someplace around a $2 million project, of which someplace in the documentation, it said half is in the bank.
Half is raised.
So if they have that kind of funding already and this amount of support, I see no issues at all in securing the other $7,500 for this event on its own. I will stick to my $2,500 support on this.
Thank you. Councillor China.
I think their program is up and running. They're getting the funds. I don't think this gathering is going to affect the production or the implementation of this program. As someone said, it's a one-time, it's one night, it's a gathering, and I don't think it's going to make any difference to the implementation of their abattoir.
Councillor Egan.
I would just support the in-kind.
And one of the reasons that we do this kind of thing and talk like this is because this is budget money. This is money that we have to look after. And what ends up ultimately happening at some point is other groups that didn't make this will come to us halfway through the year. This is the very beginning of the year. There could be other groups, and if we destroy this whole budget at this night, nobody else gets a chance. So I need a motion with, Councillor Newman.
There is already a motion on the table, so my understanding is we would have to defeat that motion and then have a secondary motion, but I also, just to speak against the fact that I'm not concerned with the people who may or may not apply later in the year. This is what's currently in front of us with our approved budget already of the 50,000, so I mean, like, at least place marked in the budget, so I'm working on today, not looking in the future for this.
So, is the motion my motion? Well, I don't think it got seconded. I kind of laid something out there. Pardon me?
Your Worship. So Councillor Etchart, he had put forward a resolution that was there, but it was not seconded.
Okay.
So it was for the in-kind and the $2,500.
Okay. So we are open to any motion. We don't have to rescind any motions at this point.
If there's no seconder to a resolution, then it's not on the table.
Thank you. Sometimes we forget where we are. I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Newman.
I'll make a motion of an approval, of up to $2,000 or in kind for the venue, whichever.
Okay. Awesome. Councillor Egan. Any other comments, conversations?
Can I just make one quick comment?
You sure can.
If it's going to be either or, it's always more beneficial for the city to have it be the in-kind, because then it's not a cash cost. So if there isn't a strong preference either way, and that's kind of where council is going with it either way, in-kind is probably more economically efficient for the city, but the resolution can stand as you will. I just wanted to add that point as a point of thought.
I'm 100% fine with in kind.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so now apparently we move into in-kind. So IK01, Community Futures Development Corporation, Nicola Valley Community Engagement Fair, $1,750.75, and I'm assuming this is for the rental of the Civic Center. This is a community fair. I think they had it last year. And it's quite well received. I've been to it a couple times. Yeah, I've been to it a couple times, so.
My list is different.
No problem. Things change. So it's in kind for basically rental of the Civic Center for the fair. So Councillor Hogan?
So I just want to ask staff, so what is the fee for the rental of the Civic Center?
Norm could probably speak to it better, but it depends on how much of the Civic Center they are renting. And so with this one here, it's both sides of the auditorium, which is a different cost than if you're doing all of the rooms, which is different, but Norm can speak further.
Yeah, the amount quoted is what they've gone to the Civic Center and said, we want to book it, and here's what we need, and so it's $1,750.75.
So I had the opportunity to attend the last two events, so it's been a great event to promote all the different services that we have in the community, even though they are also receiving the permissive tax exempt. So I would move forward to approve this request.
And that's your motion? Do I have a seconder? Councilor Egan, any more questions from anyone? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. IKO2, Merritt Dance Society, and we had a presentation from the Dance Society president last time. Year-end dance recital at Civic Center, 50820. And I think that's a pretty small amount. I do believe this is for testing and year-end of the dancers, so I see no issue for me. Anyone from council have anything they would like to put in? I'd make a motion that we go for the 508. Any seconders? Paul? Councilor Petrosi? Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Merritt, IKO3, Merritt Otter Swim Club, Invitational Swim Meet, $1,260, again in kind, and this would be for the use of the pool for this event. The event, when it was running before COVID hit, was massive. They actually had tents out on the lawn, and it's a big deal. So I just will leave it open for council if anybody would like to chat or make a motion.
I'd like to make the motion.
Do I have a seconder? Councilor Newman? All those in favor? Opposed? None. Nickel Valley Skating Club, year-end ice show, $840. Program budget is there. Again, another enjoyable event.
Mayor?
Yes.
That is going into another agenda item.
Is it?
Yes. Extraordinary.
Extraordinary, my mistake. Oh, see, mine doesn't say that. Sorry, thank you very much. Okay, and the farmer's market as well. Okay, thank you. Okay, that puts us to rest. Yes.
Back to Merritt Mountain Bike.
Oh, right. Yeah, back to the Merritt Mountain Bike Association. Yes, Councilor.
Perfect. Just wanted to give you guys the update in response to Councilor Newman's question. So there are a few provisions of the agreement that I'll summarize, and then there's a couple that I'll read out. The first is that we do have a strong release and indemnity from the Merritt Mountain Bike Association, meaning that they agree that they will take on responsibility and liability for any accidents or events that happen on that site. It's also supported by sufficient third-party insurance, which we have proof of on record. So we're comfortable from that side. I do want to acknowledge, though, that Councilor Newman is correct that you never totally get out of Occupiers Liability Act. You can mostly get out of it, but it doesn't stop you from being named in the action. It will usually prevent you from, this would kick in and make it so we would be defended through their insurance in that action, but it doesn't stop you from being named. The other thing that I will point out is in the actual terms of the agreement itself, just a few that I'll read verbatim. The association shall be responsible for the provision of any materials or labor required to maintain the trails and skills elements in the bike skills park, and upon inspection, as the association is made aware of damage to a skill element, the association will effect any required repairs to any element. As well, for a little bit of historical context, when this agreement was first inked again in 2018, it was with a fairly major overhaul to the mountain bike skills park, of which at that point the city provided $23,500 to support that work.
Okay, so we are back to the Merritt Mountain Bike Association. With that information, do I have any? Councilor Newman.
So for clarity, they've written in their contract that they will be responsible for said repairs and upkeep, and then have approached the city again for the money for said repairs and upkeep. Just question of clarity.
It is. CEO Smith.
Thank you. I think that is an accurate read. The only point that I will make is looking at their current programs, they have a lot of other programs, and potentially if they would have maybe positioned this differently. They could have repositioned dollars to this one and asked for dollars to support one of their other initiatives, but I think that that's an accurate point that contractually they would be responsible to do this, and liability and insurance would be on them should there be an event.
Thank you. Councillor Charney. It's the look you're giving me, you're scaring me.
I see in 2021 they received $3,500, and this year they're asking for $3,000. And as you say, they are responsible for the maintenance. And so I would go back on my original 25% of $750.
Do I have a seconder on that? Are you making that motion? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Egan, any more comments or questions on that? All those in favor? Hold your hands up. All those in favor, hold your hands up. Opposed? So that's defeated. So, back to the beginning. I originally made a motion of $1,500, which I am not someone who is a construction person, but I do know what some of the equipment will cost, especially the dump truck, et cetera. I'm making a motion of 15 to cover the costs of what they're looking for. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Petrosi. Any comments on that one? All those in favor? Oh, wait, Councillor Charney? I started going for the button there.
1,500 is still 50% of their budget. And, you know, a lot of these were, you know, in that 25, 30%. So I still think that's a very rich amount for the jump park.
Councillor Newman?
Not something I would normally do, but I would almost suggest at this point in time going back to the organization and having them resubmit another application, only due to the fact that unfortunately, as it's written right now, we're going against a contract that's already been written with the city. So I don't, it's one thing, I'm not opposed to supporting the organization. I see kids out there, again, much like yourself, Your Worship. I can't imagine being on one of them, those bikes, but at this point, I can't support it the way it's written right now, and especially knowing that we do have a secondary liability to this, and as well, yeah, all the reasons that we've already stated. Sorry, I just can't support it at this time.
Okay, thank you. But we do have a motion on the floor as it stands. I have asked the mountain bike group to come now twice, and we still haven't had anybody show up. So I will still stand where I am on this. So all those in favor? Opposed? I think that was a carry. Thank you very much. Just so council knows, if you don't raise your hand, you're actually voting in favor, just so you know. So.
Dennis, you know that.
That's coming up. Just a question now for clarity. We do have the recommendation. Now we've gone through this and we're moving on. Do I read the two recommendations to make it cleaner, or basically we recommend that council review, I'm going to do it anyway, that council review the 2023 grant and aid requests listed in the attached Schedule A and approve the type amounts. Yes.
As amended, Your Worship.
As amended, Your Worship, without the worship. As amended? Yes, because it has been amended. Thank you. As amended. And approve the type amounts and payments timing for each applicant. And the other recommendation is that council move any remaining funds in the grant and aid provision of the 2023 draft budget to council contingency, should provide funding for other requests that may come up during the year. Councillor Richard, do I have a seconder? Councillor Ogan, any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. Well, that wasn't half bad. That was about an hour and a half short than I thought it was going to be. 7.2, SILGA resolutions. Yes.
As much as we did those all separately, and I feel this is odd, I would like to move a secondary motion, but it's more like a 15th motion, I guess, just in regards to review the grant, to bring forward the grant and aid policy to council for a review.
I'll second that.
Can I ask one question on that?
Sure, please.
Is there any chance that can go to the policy review committee?
Of course.
That when it gets set up. If you want it to come all the way back to council, that's perfectly appropriate. Only asking because we're making a list of policies to go to the policy review committee.
If the policy, or if the committee does get erected, yes, I'm absolutely fine with that. If not, I would like to see that come back to council, whichever way it goes. Thank you.
No, the policy will be erected, that's for sure. Councillor Smith?
That's it.
Okay. I have to agree with Councillor Newman. This is something that I would like to go over. Like I say, I have sometimes an issue with grant and aids because it can be enjoyable, but can also be a bit of a hand grenade sometimes. And I'm not happy where it's happening right now. It should be when we're talking budget, not way before. But anyway, I agree when it comes to the policy committee, we should be looking at this. And thank you for mentioning that, Councillor Newman. I appreciate it. SILGA resolutions. I guess I'll just read this. At the January 10th, 2023 meeting, Council will provide information on the SILGA resolution process. This is an opportunity for Council to propose SILGA motions and to ask further questions or clarifications of staff. I don't know if this is an actual motion. I guess if you have any of your resolutions tonight, they could be handed in. And I do believe, Mr. Lawes, that we still have until the 14th to get these in.
Yes, Your Worship. The deadline is, I believe, February 24th. So this is the second of 3 meetings where scheduled for Merritt Council where you can consider. So as you said, if the council want to propose any tonight, that would be entirely proper. But also, if you want to either request any research from staff or any information, then this would be the last time when you can easily do that at a meeting, and we can bring it forward to another meeting for a vote.
Thank you. Councillor Newman?
My apologies, I did contact staff via email in regards to this, so I did put through 3 submissions for at least assistance. I'm not sure if they've gotten to anybody yet. I believe I sent them to Sean and Greg via email yesterday, but regardless, just to keep council apprised, I did bring forward one to send forward to SILGA, a recommendation for a complete provincial review of health authorities. I know this has been talked about in the past, and I'm not sure where it is, so I know that there's some clarity that needs to be obviously gained on that before making a resolution. So this is just more or less for information. Second was we met with our local RCMP in regards to what we spoke about today. Again, it was a catch and release, and I'd like I'm not sure how to bring this back, but a federal review of the bill that directly relates to that. And so obviously, again, I'm going to need to work with staff on wording and having the correct bill listed. And at this point,
Can I just interrupt for a second? When you're talking about the review of the police catch and release, are you talking about the amount of money that is for, can't even think of the word right now. No, for bail, you know, like a lot of those people that go.
That would be part and parcel of it, but it's more along the lines when we met with Corporal Rhoda, he was discussing the fact that it's a federal bill that is stated that once a criminal is arrested and then all of a sudden they can just be returned to the streets. It's a very large bill, but I don't have the number or wording right now.
Thank you.
Your Worship.
Councillor Lawes, sorry for not, or Councillor. Mr. Lawes.
I'll take whatever title you want,
Sure.
Your Worship. Through Your Worship, the current way that bail is organised in Canada is organised through the Criminal Code, which, as you say, is a federal law. It's exclusive competence of the Federal Parliament of Canada. And that has a number of provisions in it. For example, that there is a presumption of bail unless a crime is in one of a very small number of very specific situations. And if it falls into one of those, then it's what's called a reverse onus provision, and then there is an assumption that there will not be bail unless they can prove why there should be. So most of the time, bail is relatively automatic, unless the Crown can demonstrably prove why it would be severely problematic. We can, of course, bring a resolution to SILGA looking to go to UBCM looking to ask the federal government to amend the bail provisions in the criminal code. But yeah, it would be a fairly major undertaking. That is not to say, of course, that it couldn't be done. One thing I would note is that I'm afraid neither Sean nor I have a copy of the proposals you believe you sent through, so we will definitely need to link up with that this evening and make sure we get those so we can draft them up for you for the next meeting.
Okay, and just the third one that I had on the list was in regards to forestry and getting support that again we go forward for a review on forestry permits and policies in regards to getting things like the cutting permits and things done in a good amount of time and fair amount of time, if at all possible. So we'll get together with staff and we'll figure out where those went.
Thank you. I'll get you to push your button there, Councillor Newman.
Thank you.
I have a couple as well, but I submitted one today for Mr. Lawis's approval or to have a look over, and we found that there was something very close already on the books, and that's what's good to do with this is to get staff to look at it because we don't want to repeat the same thing over and over again. So I do have 3, but I need to work with staff to make sure they're correct before we go. And I believe we can look on the UBCM site and search those to find out if we're actually doubling up, can we not? Councillor, Mr. Lawis.
Yes, Your Worship. There's, if you search online for UBCM resolution database, then you can see every resolution which went to UBCM since 2003, and so that's a very good source of information on. It's only the resolutions which got as far as UBCM. So if a resolution failed at the SILGA level, then it wouldn't be listed in there. But it is still a good repository of information which has been considered by local governments at various points. Yeah, sometimes you'll be wanting to look at those and saying this is close but was, say, rejected by a ministry for various reasons, and then you'll be looking at their response to that and pointing out why they were either they were wrong or why situations have now changed, or you might be looking at something and saying, well, this was when UBCM was looking at something similar but different, and this is specifically what we want to look at this time instead. So it's a really useful resource to look at, and of course staff can help you with that if you'd like.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ogan.
So I just want to know if there is a limit of resolutions that we can put forward.
No, there's not. There has been times where we've gone to UBCM with no resolution at all. And there's times where we've gone with several. So, yes. Councillor Etchert?
Well, the only comment I wanted to make is that we have these resolutions that we suggest to SILGA, and then the SILGA board has to approve them before they get to UBCM. And then the UBCM board is going to review them, of course, and see if there isn't already similar things from different municipalities, or if there's similar resolutions, they may just amalgamate them into a block and have, so we may have a great idea, but Cowichan Valley may have the same one, or Nanaimo or something like that as well. So that's where it will be reviewed. Thanks.
And traditionally, when you get your books for SILGA or UBCM, under the resolutions, you will see what other ones that it refers to, so you can check on those as well. For people out in the crowd and at home, SILGA stands for Southern Interior Legislative Governing Association, and that's kind of like the junior hockey league for the NHL. We have to send our stuff there first in order to get it to UBCM, where it can then be moved on, just so people...
I feel really good about that.
Well, in a way, it is a farm team. I mean, you can make resolutions off the floor at UBCM, but they usually don't go very far, so, because you looked at somebody who didn't follow the procedure. So, any other comments or questions on that? Councillor Egan?
I was just going to say, are we going to get together? I mean, are we going to see all the resolutions that each and every one of us are going to be putting forward or not putting forward and discuss them and go as a united front with one or two?
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, long before. I have a tale to tell you, but I won't tell you it here. We actually went one time to UBCM. No, I'm going to... And we had not discussed our UBCM resolutions, and we had a meeting with Mr. Bennett, And if you know Mr. Bennett, he's a pretty rough guy. And we sat there, and only one person really knew what the resolution was, and they neglected to show up, and we hummed and hawed for 15 minutes, and at the end of it, he stood up and said, "Thank you very much for embarrassing yourself and wasting 15 minutes of my life." And after that, we decided we meet long before we go to discuss everything. And then we meet every night to go over everything else at UBCM, because we were horribly embarrassed, and it was an embarrassing time. And when a minister tells you that in front of all his people, it's embarrassing. So, yeah, you do. It's like getting spanked at school. So, anyways, moving on to the next 7.3, Destination Marketing Organization. On January 17th, 2023, the Committee of the Whole heard from the Merritt and Nicola Valley Destination Marketing Society, Tourism Nicola Valley, and made a recommendation to Council. And the recommendation is that Council endorse Merritt and Nicola Valley Destination Marketing Society, Tourism Nicola Valley, or TNV as it's known, as a designated marketing organization for the City of Merritt. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Newman, Councillor Ogan seconds. Open to Councillor for any questions or any debate. I think it was a very good COW, our first call. I think it was done very well. I think it did everything we wanted it to do, and I'll call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? Carried. Bylaws, none. New business, 9.1. 2023 Elected Official Seminar, SILGA Region, but this would be ILGA, I believe it's called. To be introduced by Ms. Brick. Ms. Brick, please.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. I'm going to be speaking to the 2023 Elected Officials Seminar Report. A number of new council members, they've expressed interest in attending the Local Government Leadership Academy training session that is being held for the SILGA region on March 1st to 3rd in Kelowna. This training session is held once every 4 years following an election cycle, and it's an opportunity for new and returning elected officials to learn about the role of governance and the legislative frameworks for council. Council Policy 1-05, Council Conference Attendance, requires a resolution from Council prior to registration for workshops and conferences that are outside the scope of the pre-approved conferences that are identified in the policy. The policy identifies UBCM, FCM, and SILGA as conferences that are automatically included. Anything outside of that requires a council resolution. The estimated conference of attendance for each participant is approximately $1,200, and this includes the conference registration, the hotel accommodations for 2 nights, travel, and meals. Funds for attendance would be drawn from the council conference and seminars account.
Thank you very much. This is, when I first got in 2008, I attended this, and it was really eye-opening, and I learned a lot from a lot of very talented and knowledgeable people, and it was well worth my time. I won't be attending this because I've been at this a while, so the recommendation is that Council approve the attendance of all members of Council, I guess that wish to go, at the 2023 Elected Official Seminar, SILGA Region in Kelowna, BC, from March 1st to 3rd, 2023. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Etchart, do I have a seconder? Councillor Organ, any comments? And like I said, I won't be, Councillor Newman?
Just that I will be unable to attend this seminar as well, so I guess it would be 5 councillors.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Opposed? None. 9.2.
I just ask one clarification.
Sure. CEO Smith?
Oops. Thank you very much, Mayor Gatz. So with that, so that we can have final confirmation on dates if people need the time, if they can connect directly with Ms. Brick, just for final confirmation so we don't register 5 and find out that only 3 can make it down the road or whatever the case is. So please do confirm that with Ms. Brick. Thank you.
Thank you. When did we get a cuckoo clock in here?
Yeah, 2008.
Yeah, okay. That shows you where I've been. 9.2, revision to flood inundation zone building measures adopted December 7th, 2021. I'm going to have to recuse myself from this one, and the reason I am is because I'm in the flood zone, and I'm not finished doing my redo and this would benefit me to vote on it because I still have some work to do. So I'm going to have to pull out of this one because I'm not finished my flood reclamation. So I feel it's a benefit, so I don't feel comfortable with doing that one. So I will leave and get someone to be chair of this one.
I guess I have to accuse myself also because my limitations there may not be.
Just before you go, we're not saying you can't go, but I think that if you hear from Lisa for just a second as to what the actual scope of this is, it may influence that decision.
So, thank you, Mayor and Council. So essentially, this is just to honor the original intent of that original staff report that came and was adopted December 7th. I put here in some of the background notes that what we have seen to date is that we're getting some pressures internally from new owners and developers who are now under a new zoning bylaw, and there's a lot of staff time and resources being used for that, and we just want to add a little bit of clarity so that this exemption does not apply to new property owners post November 15th, 2021. So this would continue to basically apply for homeowners and property owners that were impacted by the flood, but for any new property owners post-flood, this exemption would just be clarified in this report.
Thank you very much. I do understand that, but I was not in council at that point in time. I am in council now. I know it's a word-changing thing, but I'm still going to benefit by the situation by me continuing to work on my house on council, and I don't feel comfortable with it. It's that simple. Okay. I just don't. So I am going to excuse myself from this one for that.
Okay.
No, but are you staying? Then you're the chair?
No.
Yeah.
And as the clerk of the meeting, I suppose I should point at this point, under the procedure bylaw, as both the mayor and the acting mayor have left the meeting and declared themselves in conflict, the 5 remaining members of the council now need to elect a chair of the meeting from among themselves in order to run this item. So if I could please have anyone who would like to nominate anyone to be the chair for this item.
I'll nominate
Adam Atch has been nominated by Councillor Egan, seconded by Councillor Newman. Can we have a vote, please? All in favour? So. Chair Atch.
Do I remember the computer?
Okay, now that we had the presentation, does anybody have any questions? Okay, well, as the only person who was on the previous council, I do understand the intent of this, and it makes sense that affected residents would receive the benefits of this, so this makes sense to me. So I guess if there's no discussion, we should have the vote. All in favor? There's the vote, and I don't know what I did to my computer, so I shouldn't touch the screen. Do we have a motion? Okay, seconder. Okay, and no discussion, so all in favor? Carried. So I guess they're allowed back in now, and I'll go back to my own chair.
Great.
Thank you, everyone. Extraordinary grants and aid. Oh, this is where I can do my thing without looking embarrassing. 9.3, extraordinary grants and aid to be introduced by Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You got to push your button there.
Thank you, Your Honor. In front of you, you have the 3 late applicants, and we have transferred $9,081.05 to the Council Contingency Fund to be used for late applicants. And so if we go through one at a time for the 3 applicants, you should have received all the details in your minutes.
So we will go ahead with the extraordinary grants and aid. FA12, Merritt and District Hospice Society, volunteer training, $1,500. Councillor Newman, you're pushing your button. Oh, Councillor Chani, sorry.
I'll say that this is over what I consider the 25% range, but I have no problems with this amount going to the Hospice Society. I think they do an excellent job and very valuable asset to have in the community. So I agree with the $1,500.
Thank you.
Second.
That's your motion?
Yes.
Seconded by Councillor Newman. We got some nice pamphlets tonight. Thank you very much for the pamphlets. Right, thank you very much. Anyone else have any comments? Can I get you to turn your council off your mic off? Thank you. Second and moved. All in favor? Opposed? None. Moving on to IK04, year-end ice show around the world. This is the Nicola Valley Skating Club, $840 for use of the Nicola Valley Memorial Arena on March 11th, 2023, total budget of $2,000. I will make the motion because I think it's an enjoyable deal. The little kids try hard, and again, if you haven't gone to see one of these, you probably should. It's a lot of fun. A second by Councillor Etchart. Any other comments? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? None. IK05, Nicola Valley Farmers Market Association, weekly farmers market, $1,100 for use of the parking lot beside the Baillie House, and there's their total budget there. Again, a group of people that do a really nice job and have been at it for a long time. They're growing and then they're doing a good job. So, Councillor Newman.
I move the recommendation.
Councillor Etchart seconds. Any other comments from council? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so the recommendation on 9.3 is that council review the 3 extraordinary late grant and aid applications listed in the attached Schedule B and approve the type, amounts, and payment timing for each applicant from the council contingency fund. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Nogan, all those in favor? Opposed? None. Thank you very much. 9.4. Exit 286, inclusion in the 2023-2027 financial plan bylaw. Recommendation that council direct staff to include the Exit 286 water and sewer services project in the 2023-2027 financial plan bylaw with a total budget of $8.8 million. Do I have a mover on that? And so we get it on the floor. Councillor Etchart, do I have a seconder? Councillor Petrosi, so council, any questions? You've gone over it in your package. Any questions? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor.
Ready to go? No, happy stop.
Okay.
If you have questions, I'm here. If you want the staff report, I'm available.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Britton? All those in favor? Opposed? There we go. 9.5, extension of visitor services at the Baillie House, 2023. Recommendation that the council directs the mayor and director of corporate services to execute a 1-year tourism and visitor information service agreement with the Nicola Valley Heritage Society for $56,000. Baillie House is a gem in this community, and Sandy does a bang-up job. Best ice cream in the valley, and apparently the best bathroom in BC. So apparently, you've seen their the thing. I've made the recommendation.
Second. Sorry.
Okay, Councillor Etchart, Councillor Newman. So on the floor for questions and comments, Councillor Logan.
My only question is that I read some in the minutes that they had before a 2-year contract, and now it was changed to 1. So I was just wondering why that changed.
CEO Smith?
Yeah, to provide some history, first off, Baillie House, we completely acknowledge the staff. They have done an excellent job. The reasoning was, and will probably invite Adam to speak to it on behalf of the previous council, but I'll try and summarize what the thoughts were. Because we knew we were going through some changes with the overall tourism program, the idea was that we would run this on a shorter time frame, and then again, because in making potential changes to the tourism program, there may have been a change in structure with who that agreement would have been through or with. Would it have come through potentially a new tourism organization that was at arm's length from the city, or would it have come from the city? And so I think that there was a desire to explore other potential locations or sites for providing physical tourism services, and then they wanted that potential third party to be part of that conversation when the time came. I will say that it was not, to my knowledge or discussions with the previous council, in any way indicative of Baillie House or as an organization or the service they were performing. Is that helpful in any way?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So would that be possible to hear from the Baillie House to see what are the struggles running a one-year contract, if any?
I don't believe there's anybody here from Baillie. Is there someone here? Oh, Jeff Holmes. Oh, sorry. Oh, you guys are everywhere. I thought you...
I'm going to keep doing this until I get it right. Thank you, Council. I have a small report here from the Baillie House. Unfortunately, we are unable to have Sandy here. Both her and her dad, who is the president of the association, they have a family medical emergency, so I'm going to try to cover as much as I can. She did type out a small report, which I will read at this time. The Nicola Valley Heritage Society has provided Merritt Visitors Information Service since 2006. Over the past 17 years, we have hosted 298,926 visitors to our site. Who would have thought that the number of visitors would increase from 6,687 in the first year to over 30,000 in 2019? The number of visitors has slowly increased since the pandemic began in 2020. The Baillie property provides a unique experience that draws visitors back to our site and downtown Merritt every time they come to our town. We have information about Merritt and the Nicola Valley, as well as a few brochures from other parts of BC. There is a public washroom, picnic area, gift shop with local products and vintage items for sale. Pets are welcome. In the summer, we provide free site tours for the visitors, as well as free iced tea and lemonade. The Heritage Society staff has made the list that covers frequently asked questions such as places to stay and eat, storage facilities, and where to go horseback riding, hospital facilities, etc. These can be given out in person, emailed, or mailed out by Canada Post. The Heritage Society staff and volunteers raised all the funds to cover the cost of the maintenance projects, heating, lighting, phone, and internet. Volunteers maintain the grounds, which receive many compliments every year. We have a 25-year renewable for another 25-year agreement with the city and society for the Baillie House property. In 2022, the Merritt Visitors Information Center saw an increase in visitors of 8.5% for a total of 23,685 visitors. The number of visitors have slowly begun increasing since 2020, when COVID restrictions greatly affected travel. Many COVID restrictions were lifted in May, and we almost instantly had a jump in visitors, especially from Eastern Canada and international travelers. The Heritage Society has some difficulty in hiring summer students, so in the 2023 we will be trying to significantly increase wages for the 2022 level, when only 2 people applied for the job. We hope to attract quality summer help. As a result, we are asking for an increase of $2,800 to help cover the wages. We have not received an increase since 2020. Minimum wages continue to increase every year. The Heritage Society has applied for summer student grants, but are not always successful. We look forward to continuing to help the visitors find out what Merritt has to offer and provide a warm, small-town welcome to downtown Merritt. At this time, I would like to I would love to be able to introduce you to our information manager, but because of health reasons, both Ann and our chairman are not able to come. But as you know, Sandy is the one that maintains the yard as a volunteer, does all the planting and upkeep of the place. And I think she's done a great job. So at that time, this is where Sandy's report ends. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, if there's none, thank you.
Hold on. Hold it. There might be one. Councilor Rogan?
Okay.
No, I do understand all the benefits of having the Baillie House. So my question was regarding the one-year contract. So are there any issues running a one-year contract?
Well, by really having a one-year contract, it makes it difficult for us to literally hire people and guaranteeing them a job instead of saying in January when you start working for us, oh, by the way, in December you may be out of a job because the city has not given us another contract. It makes it difficult to operate on a one-year basis. And I know a few years ago why it was changed to 1 year, but it would make it an awful lot easier for us as the committee to have at least a 3-year contract so that we can, when we hire people, we can at least guarantee them a job for 3 years. So it would be appreciated if we could increase that to at least 3 years. Thank you. Any other questions?
Councilor Etcher.
Thank you for the information. I've always enjoyed the presentations that you guys have had for us in Sandy's regular reports. From having been on the last council group, the reason that it got switched off was there was some discussion with some saying, well, are we allowing other people to put a bid in to do that? And I haven't heard anybody ever request or inquire or bid on anything. It was the opinion of a former councillor, and so it got suggested that they go for a shorter term. I'm happy with the numbers, the reporting, and everything that's happened, and as Mr. Pomans has given us Sandy's report, not much of an increase over last year when we know costs on everything have increased during inflation. I think it's great, and I'm happy, and I'd be happy even if we decided to not just do 1 year, but increase. But that's just me. I'm in support of renewing it, and even if we decided as a group to do longer. Thanks.
So that begs the question, and I guess I'm going to defer to anybody else have a question for Jack before I ramble on here? Thank you, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
We may have to ask you to come back up again. So, question to you, C.O. Smith. Would it be out of character for us to extend this now, or is this something we can make a motion to bring back in the future? I'm curious.
I will defer to Marilyn, though I will note that that is one of the options that is set out in the staff report, is potentially extending this to a multi-year agreement, given the circumstances. The one other point of information that might be relevant for you is I think that the Destination BC funding, this is either the last or the second last year of it. I know we got an extension, but perhaps you can add on that as well, Marilyn, if that impacts your decision as well.
So, Your Worship, councillors, with respect to the Visitor Services Network Destination BC funding of $25,000, because the Baillie House submitted their final report, we were able to submit that, and within 2 weeks we have that already approved for the $25,000 from them. So the transfer should have been in this week, so which is fantastic. I know the Baillie House, we've had discussions with respect to extending, to having it from 1 year to 2 years or 3 years, and it's in the options. So whatever council decides going forward would be great. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is it is a center for us, and there's many tourists and many visitors and local residents that utilize it throughout the year.
Thank you. So, Councillor Richard, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the options.
Make one up. Oh, sorry. Councilor Hogan.
So I just need clarification here. So the funding from Destination BC, are we talking about a 1-year funding that we have to reapply next year, or it's for a specific number of years?
Yes, Councillor, that's correct. Every year we would apply for it in January.
Do we have information when this is going to stop this funding? So do we know that it's going to be available next year?
Not unless CA.
If this is a critical kind of deciding point, I think we know, but I really don't want to give you wrong information. What I can say is when this initially started, we had 4 years of $25,000 of funding from Destination BC when the Tourism Visitor Center was shut down. We did a little bit of kicking and screaming the last council with staff saying, it's still not open. Like, you need to be helping for longer here. And so that got extended. But I think that, as Marilyn indicated, what I'm not 100% sure of is if it was extended on an every year you can ask for it again, or whether we got 2 years with the rolling. But if the indication is what Marilyn has said, is that it's subject to, but I do understand that it's going to have a stopping spot from them. It was always intended to have a stopping spot from them. It was kind of meant to be the bridge between that and, whatever other options arrive there. So I don't think that council should guarantee that funding forever, but we'll keep taking a kick at the can for as long as they tell us we can try.
Thank you for that. So either way, whether the funding continues or doesn't, it's not like we're going to be shutting the place down, to be honest with you. So do we just want to go ahead with this, or do we want to make a motion? Anybody? Oh, Councilor Burke, Linda, or Ms. Why is everybody a councilor today?
We did have a motion on the floor for someone had moved and seconded the resolution that was written in the agenda.
Thank you.
So we do have that. If you want to amend it, then we can certainly do that, but it was moved and seconded.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we'll move on the motion that's on the floor. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is what's right in front of you for 1 year. Should we do that again? All those in favor of the motion as it sits now? All those in favor? All those opposed? Looks like it. I didn't see that.
Pretty low hands.
Mr. Lewis?
Your Worship, from what I observed at least, that was carried with Mayor Getz, Councillor Olgun and Councillor Charney in opposition.
Yes, I guess that's the way it went. Thank you.
And I just want to state that I was in opposition because I wanted to provide a 3-year contract.
And that's exactly why I opposed it also.
Oh, that's right.
It was the 1 year.
That's why I opposed it as well. Just, we weren't trying to be nasty there. Councillor Etcher?
The only reason that I wouldn't, well, this is the motion that we had on the table, so we had to vote for it. And I'm obviously in support of, it's just that we may have to look at a different budget amount for next year in case there's no funding from Destination BC, which would mean that we would have to do a resolution brought to council, because it would be potentially the could be any different amount, so we'd have to have a resolution. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't. But I absolutely am in favor of them running the Baillie House as is, because it's fabulous. So thank you.
Nice save, nice save. To be honest with you, when I was campaigning, I came to Mr. Thompson and asked if they could actually be a line item so we could get by this issue every year, and we can't. And the reason we can't, Mr. Thompson, is because?
They're a society, and if we want to bring them in as a committee.
Because they're a society, and if we want to bring them in as a committee, we'd have to change the organizational structure.
Okay. So, Councilor Newman?
And what's involved in changing the organizational structure?
That's up to the society.
Oh, from the society standpoint, not from ours. Okay, sorry, I was thinking you meant under our committee structures.
So that's where I was. I thought this is a group that probably should not have to every year do this, but because of that situation, we couldn't. Councilor Hogan?
So just wondering, I thought that we have other societies and they have a line item in the budget.
No, I don't believe we do. Do we? Oh, sorry.
We do.
There are mechanisms to go about this. I think that we'll take the Museum, Arts Council, and
I know the Arts Council.
I'm gonna get the. It's victim services, but I can't remember. I think it's structured as a society as well. So there are societies. There's a mechanism and a procedure to go through it. And if council would like a report back on making this a line item in advance of the next renewal, we can make that happen. Because I'm hearing that there might be a desire to explore longer term, and there might be a desire to explore this as a term option. So perhaps what we could do is have a discussion with the Baillie House earlier so that they can make some organizational plans that wouldn't add so much stress and running into this in December. Are we closing? Are we continuing? Whatever the case is. If council would be supportive of that, they could direct staff to prepare a report regarding adding them as a line item and potential multi-year agreement.
Councilor Egan?
I would just like to know, if they don't get the support from Destination BC next year, where's the bulk of your funding coming from? I mean, does that fall back on the city?
Well, it is city-owned, so.
Like what I'm hearing here is that everybody says, well, you know, we want to support them and we want them to be there forever. It's never going to close. It might. I mean, we're not deep pockets.
The one point that I would make is that it operated largely on the city before we originally received the Destination BC grant, because we were running, the Tourism Visitor Information Center was still running, but we were also running the Baillie House at that point without the grant. So it would be more like a reversion to what always was versus the current, which has been really nice. They've offset, now up to $125,000 in funds over the course of the last 5 years. So it's been really, really helpful. That being said, it was previously funded by the city. You'd need to make some decisions, probably as part of that next staff report, as to how you wanted the future to look.
I think at this point, we probably should let Baillie House decide what they would like to do, and then get a hold of us, so we can, we've got a year to do it. So, because we've already passed this, so we have a year to do it. So, Jack, I imagine you could carry that message back to Sandy, and if you need any clarification, city staff would be more than happy to. Oh, he's coming to the mic.
Of course, one of the reasons that we've requested that as a line item, we were at times 6 months behind getting paid by the city. And this was a problem. We were supposed to be getting paid every 3 months as the contract. And we, at one time, a couple of years ago, and even quite recently, we were waiting up to 6 months for our 3-month payment. So we were 6 months behind. And fortunately, we were able to cover payroll because of the society has a few dollars, but it wasn't fair that we had to wait to be paid for a contract, and that is why the line item has been suggested, because then it would be automatic. If we got paid every 3 months, I don't think we'd care whether it was a line item or not. Thank you.
Thank you. CEO Smith?
For what it's worth, he's actually dead right with this, so that everybody knows we don't contest that. It's accurate. Baillie House gets paid on provision of their quarterly report. We bring the quarterly report onto the council agenda. Unless we don't bring the quarterly report onto the council agenda because it didn't get added, and all of a sudden everybody's like, wait, we didn't get anything. Where's the payment? Oh, wait, they did send us something. And so we have, so everybody knows, we've resolved our, that is really...
That cuckoo clock's cuckoo.
That is new.
It's never been done.
It's not that loud normally.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm so easily distractible. My apologies. Squirrel. They are correct, but we have worked out our internal systems to make it so that we fully anticipate that you will be getting paid on time. And this is really coming back to the importance of systems and processes for the city of Merritt, because regardless of what happens, what the turnover looks like, where this is sitting in somebody's email inbox, people need to get paid for the work that they've agreed to do. So, very fair point, and we don't contest that.
Councilor Egan.
I just wanted to add that just for the record, I am in full support of a 3-year contract. I know how hard, difficult it is to find and keep employees. So for those people that have worked for Baillie House, it would give them some comfort to know that they've got a 3-year job.
Thank you, Councilor Richard.
Just for the record, the only reason I didn't want to put a 3-year plan for all you guys is because you guys couldn't get the grant and aid on the last meeting, so I thought this would maybe be a little too much.
Sure, blame us.
No offense, but I'm just, I thought maybe it wouldn't go over well.
I'm just gonna say,
If you guys want the 3-year, for real, it makes everyone's life a lot easier. Now I'm hearing multiple people who are sounding like they do want that. Rescind the resolution and make a new one if that's what you want. If that's not what you want, and you want the 1 year, don't do a darn thing different, and we'll move on. But what I don't want is to have to do a whole bunch of administrative work, go back and forth, have to prepare another staff report for something that you guys already know you want to do. So if you want a 3-year, I recommend you rescind this or at least canvass, have a discussion as to what that is, and then if you want to, rescind it and make the new motion, because it will save everyone a lot of work if we do it now.
Thank you, C.O. Smith. Councilor Newman.
Question on clarity. In order to rescind the motion, the original mover has to rescind the motion, correct?
Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Your Worship. Section 26 of the city's procedure bylaw reads, Mayoral, this would be the easiest way to do it, I feel. Mayoral reconsideration, and this is a provision permitted, which is required under the community charter. The mayor may require council to reconsider any item that it has already considered at the same meeting or in the preceding 30 days. It may be reconsidered once. If it has already been acted upon by staff, it may not be reconsidered. I don't think staff have done anything on this yet. So yeah, if you simply want to stick your hand up, Your Worship, and say that you require council to reconsider the item, then you can just redo it.
Thank you. So just a little chat with council. How do we feel about rescinding the motion and me sticking my hand up? So I would like to rescind the motion. Do we have any new motions that want to be made? Oh, go to your mic there. Councilor Rogan.
I would like to make the motion to renew a contract or to make a new contract for 3 years.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Oh, Councilor Egan gets in there. Any comments, questions? Councilor Richard?
Well, I'm glad that everyone's in agreement because I wanted to do the grant and aids last time, but no, everybody needed to have their 2 weeks. So yes, I hope to you out there that you realize that I was always in support of that, but I was nervous with this new group. So hey, it's true.
So acknowledging that there is only one point here, which is this 3 years at the same rate, or is there going to be an inflation adjustment that you would like to bake into this? Generally, we would have an inflation adjustment, just so you know. If we were to go do that, we don't expect people to be operating at the same rate year over year. So please know that when you're saying that, if we were bringing a staff report back, we would have amended the agreement to probably include an inflation escalator.
Well, that's the way I would read it. So, Councilor Newman?
Just clarity that it's the CPI.
Yeah, we would take the local CPI number or the BC CPI number and put that in.
Councilor Charlie?
I was just going to agree with that.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Richard, again.
Somebody let me have sugar, obviously. The other thing is that if we find that there's some extenuating costs, we can always do a resolution that's brought to us as well, a budget amendment. So I think it's the nice thing to do so that they don't have to panic over the next 36 months.
Good.
That's all I have to say for now.
I'm going to call the question if there's no other comments. So on the new motion, all in favor? Opposed? There you go, Jackie. Go home with a smile on your face. Thank you. Moving on, number 10. Make sure nobody's got notices of motion. I peer over my notices. No. Reports from council. Anyone have a report from council they would like to expunge? Councilor Egan.
Okay, excuse me, I have to refer to my notes.
Uh-oh, you've been busy.
I was approached by some local retired loggers, and they said that they're having the interior, let's see. No, the Interior Lumbermen's Association pension plan, the group that's in control of that, is now saying that they're going back on all these companies that are retiring or getting close to retiring and say that it's telling them that they have to pay back all the money. So there could be 8 to 10 local companies out of a possible 33 companies in the interior that go broke, and they will lose everything that they've worked their whole lives for. I'm wondering if there's any way that the city can help. Not sure how we could help other than to give them letters of support for their lawyers. But that's a lot of people and a lot of, that's their entire livelihoods.
Well, what I would suggest, Councillor Egan, is that the person that's talked to you get some correct background, some actual facts, and write a letter to the city, Mayor and Council.
Well, I suggested that they bring a forum here.
That's what we would have to see with correct backing, and we can't act on hearsay. So
I understand.
It has to be.
I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention.
And it may be
if you're not aware of it.
It may be completely out of our scope. There might be nothing we can do with this. This might be a labor situation with the labor board, so it might be completely out of our scope. But that's not saying that they can't bring something forward and we can have a look at it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other notices of motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, reports from council. Sorry, reports from council. Any other reports? Sorry, notices of motion. Reports. Not seeing any? We'll move on. I have a bunch, but you know what? Nobody really cares. No, I mean, really, I do have to admit, I enjoyed the first Business After Business. That was really enjoyable up at Barkman. I'm glad to see that the Chamber has brought back Business After Business. It was really enjoyable. And of course, they do a great job up there, and it was really well received. Dan Albus was there. I think there was 25 of us, so it's good to see that. So I'm very happy that that happened. And we had a meeting with the Cooks Ferry Band today, which was very enjoyable, very informative, and I am so glad that this council is working with all of the nations in the valley. This is our third one that we've had now, and we still have 4 to go. So it's really enjoyable that we're able to sit down and meet as partners, and yeah, it was really enjoyable. But with that, is there anything else? If not, I will call. Oh, Councillor Newman.
One thing I think that we did forget to report out on, and it feels like it was forever ago, but was the search and rescue event out at the airport on the 15th. It was well attended by council. I know that I had great conversation there as well. I think they were very happy to see the support from the city, and especially with our recently passed motion, I think it's a good working relationship going forward.
Thank you. Yes, that was their 20-year. I got a coin out of it. So. You had to be there at the right time.
We were there at the same time.
No, I was leaving as you guys were arriving.
Adam got one over here.
See? There you go.
Wow.
Termination. Thank you very much, everyone.